Hi, I'm Sifu Steve from Classical Martial Arts of Long Island. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about some aspects of Chinese martial arts and some of the things that we offer at Classical Martial Arts of Long Island. So we're outside. We're not in our martial arts studio, so that's a little different than if you've seen some of our other videos. And why are we outside? Well, I want to talk about nature. I want to talk about how nature and the natural world informs a lot of the Chinese technique and the Chinese traditional martial arts. Now, in Chinese martial arts, we broadly divide things between wushu, which literally means war skills, and gongfu, which means the merit of practice. Well, what are those two divisions? Well, the war skills are really the fighting skills, and then the gongfu are the merit or the benefit you get out of practice. Now, on either side of that equation, Chinese martial arts are very philosophical. They have ideas about yin and yang, ideas about qi, fundamental force in the universe and how that relates to people, and it crosses over into other ideas in Chinese culture, such as Chinese ideas about historical ideas about politics, about human nature, about psychology, and about medicine. Well, why are we outside? Well, the Chinese would say that the outside world holds treasures. Well, I don't really mean gold in the mountains per se, but rather they say there's 3 heavenly treasures and 3 earthly treasures, and they combine into the 3 treasures in life. The 3 heavenly treasures are the sun, the moon, and the stars. The 3 earthly treasures are water, fire, and wind. And the 3 treasures of life are what are called jing, which means essence, qi, which means energy or metabolic force, and shen, which means spirit. Those 9 things together make up how the Chinese traditionally believed the world existed. And in Chinese martial arts, those ideas are core to understanding not only how we deal with the other, but how we deal with ourselves. Because oftentimes the battle is not out there, not in the fist to the other person or the block to the other person or the throw, but the battle often is how do we act? How do we think? What do we do? So talking about this outside world, these treasures, they say you're supposed to model yourself upon the outside world. And that's why they say in Chinese thought that the human is a microcosm of existence. And you say, well, what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, it means that if we look at the earthly treasures, we look at water. Well, humans are mostly water. Physically, we're water. But also, as Bruce Lee famously said, be like water, meaning be adaptable. Water takes the shape of the container it's poured into. Be adaptable to everything that comes your way. So look at the water. It adapts, it changes, it freezes, and then it melts, and then it evaporates, and then it recondenses. Whatever the situation is, it can change, and it can change. And it can go deep, deep, deep as water seeks its own level, and it can rise up, 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 up into the clouds. It can go high and low and left and right and around. And as we all know, water tends to seep through almost everything. So if you could be like that, if you could model yourself on water, then your attitude, your mindset would be adaptable, no matter what the situation is. Whether that's a martial situation, how you deal with people being aggressive to you, or whether that's a work situation, or a school situation, or a personal situation of dealing with your significant other or people in your family, you could be adaptable. You could be like water. That's one part of it. That's one part of modeling ourselves on the earthly treasure. Also, since your body is mostly water, you should be able to move as if you're water. Move with no restriction. Well, depending how young you are, that doesn't make much sense. As you get a little older, you discover being able to move freely without a cane, without a walker, without assistance, without an ache or a pain. That's almost a magic power. If you could master the power of water, it means you could move freely like water does. Hold still and stand up straight at work. Do whatever you have to do, right? Then be able to be comfortable, sit down and move. At the same time, like steam that rises up, have the fluids naturally come up into the other parts of the body, into the aqueous fluids of the eye, into the mucosal lining of the nasopharyngeal tract, into the mouth and the saliva. Because we all have older relatives who are dry as a bone. And we've all watched an old cartoon where they find in the desert a dry skull, right? So life is intrinsically wet. So being like water and maintaining that balance is a central thing. And there are practices, often called qigong, qi building practices, that seek to maintain that health, that relationship of water in the body. Okay? Well, the other earthly treasures, fire. Well, fire is warm and adaptive and changing and embracing. Well, physically, you have to have warmth in the body. Right now, I'm standing outside. It's getting to be autumn, right? The leaves are changing. The tree behind me has beautiful colored leaves that are shifting from the way they were green. Now they're becoming bold colors, and then they're going to fall down. Well, the warmth that the tree has to maintain is going to be stored inside it during the winter. And it has to maintain enough warmth that it doesn't freeze to its core. If it froze down to the pith, down to the very center of the tree would die. Wouldn't make it. Oh, that's why you don't see living trees in Antarctica. They don't make it too cold, beyond any warmth that could be stored inside. Well, that's like us. We warm inside. We have warming processes. We have thermogenic process. But also, the warmth has to do with our mind, our adaptability, how we can be like fire that embraces things yet transforms them. That can be an analogy to our digestion. It can be an analogy to our thought process and our understanding. And it can be an analogy to how we move in martial arts. How in martial arts we move, we grip, we change, we adapt. We have to be like fire, quick, dynamic, and be like that. Well, then a third of the treasures, wind. So when water and fire meet, steam, which the Chinese call wind, right? So wind, meaning the things that rise up and are unbound, right? To one, physically to be like that, to rise up and be able to move. Two, to have things rise to the surface of your body. So the very surface of your skin is like the wind, able to rise up and respond to the world. And the wind is changeable. So therefore, the surface changes, your mind changes. Your ability to shift from one thought to another thought to something else, to the Chinese mindset, is a talent known as wind. So being adaptable like that and quick and fast like the wind. And sometimes the wind is a torrent. Sometimes it's a tornado. Sometimes in martial arts, you have to be like that. And you have to be fast like the wind, and you have to be strong like the wind. Okay? Well, those are the earthly treasures. And we try to model our techniques on those and model our mindset on it. Well, then we talked about, or I mentioned, the heavenly treasures, sun, moon, and stars. Well, the sun. Well, could you be like the sun? Can you be like the sun? For the sun shines down on the good and wicked evenly. The sun doesn't judge. And no matter what you did yesterday, the sun comes out today. And as the sun comes out, it shines down and gives you its goodness. Wow, could you be like that? Can you do that? That's a tall order for all of us. That's a really challenging thing for any one of us to be as broad-minded as the sun and to be as constant as the sun that arcs in its track every day. Could you model yourself on that? Could you be constant like that? Could you get up every morning, do what you have to do, not complain? On a rainy day, the sun's still shining. You might not be able to see it, but it's still there. Right? No matter what happens, no matter how sad it is, no matter who passed away, no matter what happened in the political world, in the physical world, in the emotional world, in whatever world, sun's shining regularly. Always there, always dependable, always waiting for you. Sometimes it's up earlier than you are, sometimes you beat it up in the morning, right? But it's always going like that. So can you be as broad-minded as the sun? And maybe you need that broad-minded consciousness in order to make the right decision of when to use martial skill. Well, that's the sun. And then what about the moon? But we say the moon has its changeable faces, right? The moon changes through its phases. The moon goes through its cycles. Well, that's a part of us too. To the Chinese, they say that the moon must be cultivated inside the heart. For your heart, meaning your emotions, change. They change in phases, they move and they change, and different emotions, different moods come up. Yet, what happens is that the moon continues to go through all its phases. Well, that's true also with emotions. Maybe you're sad today, maybe very sad. Maybe inside all you see is darkness for something's very bad. But then, like the moon that goes through its phases, then the light will come back to it. And it will come back to a state where it can shine brightly. And so in that sense, understanding the cyclical nature of the moon is an analogy to the cyclical nature of our emotions. For what's good is good for a period of time. And what's bad is usually bad for a period of time. but it changes. We have to adapt. And on the days where the moon's not out, then the night's very dark, you got to prepare for it. Maybe bring a light, bring a flashlight. On the days where the moon's very bright at night, you can see clearly, but you adapt to it. You say, yeah, I adapt that all the time. That's not a big thing. That's a Boy Scout or Girl Scout thing. Simple. To the Chinese, that's martial wisdom, the wisdom of one of the celestial treasures. And the third of the celestial heavenly treasures is the stars. And the stars move in their track every night. And the pole star stays centered. And you can always tell where you are by seeking the pole star. And you can see the great constellations rise and fall. And you can even see the Chinese called the planets, the visible planets, they called them stars. And so those were wandering stars that moved around. But those stars are considered in Chinese thought to be the child of sun and moon. Yet they move broadly, keeping to their tracks, yet at the same time always coming around and being mobile and being dynamic and twinkling and shining, yet holding to their position and understanding their place. Well, that's a challenge, because how many stars are there in the sky? You can't even count them. How many different types of people are there? We can count how many humans exist on the planet, but at the same time, the variety of personality, of dynamic, of how they're acting today are considered to the Chinese mind to be like the stars in the sky. So many different ways. And every star unique, every individual unique, yet every individual having a place in a universe so broad, it can hold all of them. Can you be as the stars? Can you be so broad that you can hold a breadth of understanding that can embrace all points of view? That would be a cosmic understanding. That would be the attainment of the star. That's why the Chinese say you want to have the sun in the lower body, where the waters of the body reside. For the sun warms the waters, and the waters of the universe reflect the breath of heaven. And could you be like that? Could you physically be warm and powerful and reflect all things? You want to have the moon in the center, where the fire of the heart, the fire of the heartbeat is, where the moon, which is cool and changeable and shifting, where your emotions are, can be there. So you can have the fire of consciousness, of understanding, and of dynamic metabolic process meet with the moon, the changeable dynamic of your emotion, and how that shifts back and forth. Yet understanding the cycle shall return to where it started. And can you, in the upper body, have the star, the broad mind, the cosmic mind that is filled with the whole platter of the stars? And in there, can you be as the wind, changeable, adaptable, coming and going, strong like the gale force, and then soft like the gentle breeze? So that philosophical basis of understanding is how we feel we can then further make ourselves strong. Because in the lower body, we say there's Jing, essence, essential core, that which makes the legs strong, the body sturdy, the bones solid. In the center of the body is the metabolic forces that we call the Qi, the power to digest physical things and eat and reconstitute yourself through nutrient. The more abstract aspect of digestion, which is understanding and knowledge and learning, where you take information, you tear it apart and rebuild it into something new. That's in the middle, that's the Qi. Then in the upper body, the Shen, the spirit, the broad-minded aspect of mind and spirit that can see a more universal perspective and therefore govern the rest. So this is the goal in Chinese martial arts in many ways, is to not only be a person who can fight. We say you want to be a person who can fight like 10 tigers, but a person of peace, a person of understanding. A person can understand those and be cosmicized, connected to the natural world. So like the tree that stands behind me, that tree has stood for many years and will stand for many more. And that tree, if we go into Chinese tradition, is called, brother tree. So old brother tree who's over there can teach me something and can teach me how to stand in the world, how to stand in the changes of existence, how to root deep and grow tall and be of use. For we say in Chinese martial arts, you want to be pu, the uncarved block, the tree, the wood that could be whatever you need it to be. And if we did cut down this tree, if we wait long enough, a new tree will grow, another one will grow, and it will bring forth wood. And it might be the same tree that could grow, the same piece of wood, the same type of wood to be recrafted. And that's us. If we can model ourselves like that tree, that other living being, we can be what we need to be. Not stuck into a rut. I am a fill in the blank. I'm a banker. I'm a lawyer. I'm a doctor, whatever it might be. You're not that one thing. You could be all sorts of things. So that's part of the wisdom, traditional wisdom of Chinese martial arts, of classical martial arts. And it's one of the things that we kind of embrace when we train. So hopefully that was interesting. Hopefully it was an enjoyable couple of minutes to listen to, right? And if you're interested in those things and want to kind of experience that, come on down to Classical Martial Arts of Long Island, right? We'll give you 2 weeks free on the mat to try it all out and see if you like it. And if you do, then come, train with us, and embody that philosophy. Have a wonderful day.